Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
We've been following that story about the reporter who discovered a flaw in a state website and told the state about it so that they could fix it, and he held his story until they fixed it before he ran the story. And once he ran the story, the governor came out and said the man was a hacker and anticipated that he'd be prosecuted. Well, as many of you have pointed out to me now, and I've seen the articles, prosecutor declines to charge reporter who revealed flaw in state website. So he will not be prosecuted. And the governor looks like a dummy now, he's looked like a dummy all along, but it's even worse now because he said, I anticipate he'll be prosecuted. And he said some other crazy stuff too. So this governor is one of those governors that people probably should look at very, very closely in the next election cycle. And you should wonder if somebody like that should be running your state from the executive office. KC TV5 ran the story from Cole County. The prosecutor there has declined to press charges on the St. Louis Post-Dispatch reporter who uncovered the flaw in the state website. The reporter was called a hacker by Governor Mike Parson in a press conference rant. And that reporter authored a story pointing out how 100,000 Missouri teachers' Social Security numbers were at risk of being accessed through the HTML source code on the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education's website. And as we pointed out, when you go to a website and you're looking at it in your browser on your computer, the hypertext markup language, or HTML, is something that your computer is reading but then kind of translating into what you see. But you can press a single button on your computer to show you what that code looks like behind what's being shown to you. And that's been a function of the internet pretty much ever since the internet. So the idea that you're a hacker if you press a button to see what's there is insanity. And it just shows that this governor ain't that bright, which again gets us back to the concept of, do you want someone who's this unbright running your state? Again, the executive branch portion of it. So the Post-Dispatch contacted the department to allow them to fix the issue before publishing the article, but that did not stop Parson from berating the reporter on a public stage. Now, that reporter has issued a statement, which I will read to you in full after I read the story here. So the reporter says this was a political persecution of a journalist, plain and simple. In the governor's press conference, after the article was published, among other things, he claimed that the investigation into what the journalist had done would cost taxpayers of Missouri up to $50 million. And this is a problem when politicians can just get up there and just make up stuff. That's serious. And you really, if you're a voter in that area, you got to really hold this guy accountable for that. Why would it cost $50 million to investigate the reporter who did nothing wrong except point out the mistake that your people had made? And so if it cost $50 million to fix, which it didn't, and it wouldn't, and it probably couldn't, that's on you for having incompetent people working for you. And when you're the governor and there's incompetent people working for you, hang on, let me think about this now. Who hired the people who work for the governor? Hold on. It's a trick question, right? Who hired the people who work for the governor? Wait a second. Those people can be fired, but it apparently, takes an election to fire the governor. So here is the statement. Here is the statement from the reporter Josh Renaud. And I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it's Renaud. It could be Renaud. But today, and this is a statement, today, the Cole County prosecutor declined to file charges against me over my discovery of a flaw in a public website run by the Missouri Department of Education and Secondary Education that exposed thousands of teachers' sensitive information. This decision is a relief, but it does not repair the harm done to me and my family. My actions were entirely legal and consistent with established journalistic principles. Yet, Governor Mike Parson falsely accused me of being a hacker in a televised press conference, in press releases sent to every teacher across the state, and in attack ads aired by his political action committee. He ordered the Highway Patrol to begin a criminal investigation, forcing me to keep silent for 4 anxious months. This was a political persecution of a journalist, plain and simple. Despite this, I am proud that my reporting exposed a critical issue and that it caused the state to take steps to better safeguard teachers' private data. At the same time, I am concerned that the governor's actions have left the state more vulnerable to future bad actors. His high-profile threats of legal retribution against me and the Post-Dispatch likely will have a chilling effect, deterring people from reporting security or privacy flaws in Missouri and decreasing the chance that those flaws get fixed. Think about that. If this man knew what was going to happen to him and had decided not to report what he found, things would be worse off than they are right now. This has been one of the most difficult seasons of my nearly 20-year career in journalism, but I have found strength in the prayers and support of my family and friends and so many others across the country. I'm thankful for the Post-Dispatch, which never wavered in its commitment to me, and I'm thankful for my colleagues who stood up for me and kept digging into the story. They found the state's cybersecurity issues went farther than we knew. My deepest desire is that somehow this situation might be redeemed, and I believe it can be. Last week, I read with sadness about the state Senate's treatment of Governor Parsons' nominee to lead the health department. The governor decried it as a disgraceful, unquestionably wrong, and an embarrassment to the state and the people we serve. The governor lamented that more care was given to political gain than the harm caused to a man and his family. Every word Governor Parson wrote applies equally to the way he treated me. I agree with the governor's prayer that honor, integrity, and order be returned to state government. Since my ordeal began, I've tried to follow Jesus' command in Matthew 5:44 to bless those who curse you and to pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you. But it hasn't been easy. But the investigation has run its course, so now I pray Governor Parsons' eyes will be opened, that he'll see the harm he did to me and my family, that he will apologize, and that he will show Missourians a better way. And that's a statement by Josh Renaud about Missouri investigation at joshrenaud.com, joshrenaud.com. I will put a link to his page in the description below the video. And he's pointing out that when this kind of treatment is dished out to the governor's friends, the governor's all upset about it. But when the governor views somebody he doesn't like as a perceived enemy, he can dish it out all day long and doesn't seem to care. And that is kind of strange that he did that so recently about somebody else, and then he did this a few months ago about the hacker journalist. And it just shows you that the governor does pick favorites and say, oh, this person's a good person because I like them. This person's a bad person because they make my government look bad. And the job of the press, one of their jobs, is to watch what the government does and report on it to us. Now, I know a lot of people who think, well, the press, what do they do? Well, they've got reporters on the ground, as they say, at different places, at the state capitol, at City Hall, watching the police department. And a lot of this stuff we take for granted. In Michigan, I can tell you the name of the reporters who cover the beats in Lansing and Detroit and report on what the governments there are doing. And that's because they're there. That's their full-time job. That's what they do. And if they weren't there doing that, how would we find this stuff out? So let's suppose that this reporter never discovered the flaw in this website. Well, all that information about those teachers would be exposed and it would wound up on the dark web someplace and bad things would happen. Nefarious things would happen. And so the fact that he covered this and reported on it is important. I don't think it takes a very vivid imagination to try to think about what would happen if there weren't reporters watching over the politicians. If politicians would do things and not have to worry about something showing up in the news. So the reporters are doing a very, very important job. And the fact that this governor attacked this reporter as he did, holding press conferences and saying he's going to be prosecuted and it's going to cost us $50 million to fix what he did when he didn't do anything. That's scary. That's scary. So a lot of people get fired up for presidential elections and they show up and they vote for presidential elections. The voting in the other elections drops off. And I don't know when the election is for governor in this state. I don't know. It might be in an off year. It might be different states do it different ways. You really want to take a look at this guy and ask yourself, do you need this guy running your government, or could you find somebody more competent? Because you might like the guy, but more competent person out there? I assure you there is. And I think this whole incident proves it. So crazy stories now, but it finally came to an end. So this is a good ending. Although this guy went through 4 months of rough traveling. I got to thank the people who sent it to me, including Chad, Bradley, David, Aaron, Keegan, and Keith. Stories from KCTV5, and the prosecutor declines to charge the Post-Dispatch reporter who revealed the flaw in the state website. It's good news. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Computers have lots of memory, but no imagination.